Well, good evening and welcome to the Nothing Fancy Spiritualist Church. It's Wednesday, the 9th of March, 2022. So it's quite a special day in our house today. So welcome. This is an evening we're in conversation, and we're in conversation with Derek Spall, who is a speaker and medium from Lowestoft, but has spent quite a bit of time in the London area and served a lot of churches in London. So before we work with mediums, we like to talk to them and introduce them to you. So that is what this evening is about. So it only leaves me really to welcome Derek. Good evening, Derek.
Good evening, Ben. Good evening, folks.
How are you, sir?
I'm very fine, thank you.
Good. We've got some people working or watching with us. We've got about 24 people at the moment, Derek, so the numbers are building. Sylvia Maxwell, Carol McDowell. Hello, Carol, and welcome. And Carol McDowell says hi to us as well. Carol, if you'd be kind enough to actually press the button marked StreamYard /Facebook, and that'll tell us who you are. See, we've got Carol McDowell saying good evening to you, Derek. Judy Barrows is watching, and Ruth Townsend is saying good evening as well.
Yeah, good evening, Ruth.
Yeah. So are you looking forward to this evening, sir?
Yes, I always looking forward to talking. I always look forward to talking with spirit.
Yeah.
That's a good subject. That is very good.
Yeah. And you've worked with spirit for quite a long while.
Yes, I've been working really since the late 80s, which you're talking 40 years-ish.
Okay. So you're a father. So tell us a little bit about yourself personally.
I was. I'm glad you're here, Ruth. First time for me tonight. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, welcome to Ruth.
Yeah, I was born and bred in Lowestoft in Suffolk. I was born in '54, so it's gone back some years now. But I stayed in Lowestoft till around the 70s. And then once the 70s came, I actually moved to London because I became part of the London Fire Brigade in the 70s. And even though technically I wasn't aware of spirit in some reactions, but when I look back at certain parts of my life, I felt the spiritual influx, as you put it, or the imaginary voice that appeared in my mind that I thought was something else. And it wasn't really till the 80s and 90s that I had a thought. I thought that I wanted to go to a small church in North London. I didn't know where it was, if it had a service, but I literally got up, walked out, and went up the road and walked straight into this church. I found it so like coming home. It was like I'd been lost for so long, and suddenly it felt so comfortable, so at ease. And I thought, well, I wonder when the lady's going to come up with a crystal ball. Yes, that's what I thought. I was expecting her to come on with a crystal ball and start giving messages. And of course, that didn't happen. I thought, what should I do? If I sit at the back, they'll come to me. If I sit at the front, they'll come to me. So I'll go to the side out the way and, just sit there quietly and watch what's going to happen then. I sitting there, and all of a sudden these two men come on and said, "Your medium tonight is so and so." And suddenly he said, I want to come to you. I said, pardon? I want to come to you. And I thought, well, what do I do? He said, no, just sit there and relax. And he said, well, I have a gentleman here, no more than 5'5", this gentleman. Used to wear a green overall, had a red car. And to me, that was my ex-father-in-law then, who has been in spirit for a little while. And he said, he just wants to thank you for sitting with him all night when he died. Well, I was dumbstruck, because no one knew me in this church. I'd never been there before. And yet, they knew that I sat with my partner all night until he passed the spirit at 9 o'clock the following day. And then I thought, there must be something in this. There must be something that... I was kept looking around to see if there's anyone who knew me, but it wasn't. Hi Sharon, it's nice to see you. But I started to attend more regularly and started to go there, and I don't go for the, be honest with you, for if I'm watching, I don't go for a message. I don't need to know the message from Spirit. I know Spirit. I love Spirit. I trust Spirit. And my very first circle I went into was run by a medium called Edie Weston. And this was the North London Spiritist Church in Hornsey. And she used to come along every Saturday Saturday afternoon. And bring her little poodle dog who used to sit under a chair all the way through the service, all the way through the circle. And we had a nice little group, maybe there's about 5 or 6 of us there was. And I knew that first night I went to that church that the seed of Spirit had been put inside me and was growing. It was pushing me to look for this and to look for that. I've got many spiritual books. I must be truthful with you. I've got, I was saying, a couple of 100 books. But hands up, I've not read all of them right the way through. But I do get extreme satisfaction from Spirit by reading books, by reading just pages or just lines, and just that something starts to force me to believe, but not force, guide me more, because that's how they felt. I was asked about the Indians either side of me. As you know, the one on this side, that's 2 moons. That's one of my guys. The other one was a dog. It was they call a dog chief. He's moon walking, I think, or something like that. But I've always liked him for some reason. Don't ask me why. I don't try to force my beliefs of the Indian spiritual way of life, etc., etc. I do love to read certain sayings from the North American Indians. I do like to hear sometimes part of the history of the Indians tribes. But my main guide at the moment has been with me quite a few years now, is Charlie. Now Charlie used to be a barrow boy in East London, around Petticoat Lane, that sort of area. And he died when he was only 12 years of age, when he got crushed by his own cart, or carriage or whatever. No, it's his cart. He got crushed with his cart. And even though he comes through as a young boy, even though he's maybe 800 years old, that sort of age, I think he said he's been 780 for about 20 years now, so I'll put that around 800 years old. But I've started to learn Spirit. I sort of trust Spirit now more than I used to. I think at the beginning, I was just fascinated by working with spirit and listening to voices, wondering if it was me or it was someone else. But the circles actually opened my eyes to more belief in spirit. I've been through that circle in there. Then I went to another circle with Sue and Jim Summers. That was a very good circle. That was also based in that church. Then I went to a friend of ours, Frances Wolf. She had a terrific circle. And that's where I met Karim. Karim, who I often work with on the platform. People say we're like chalk and cheese in some respects. He'll start the message, I'll finish it off, or I'll start the message and he'll finish it off. But the trust is very important to me, what the beliefs are. I also find that working with spirit and linking with spirit, I become more sensitive and more emotional than I've been for many, many years. I find it very hard now when I watch news programs about the Ukraine and Afghanistan and Syria and the Yemen, and it hurts sometimes watching the situations that are going through. And on the emotional side especially, as if we just want to sort of pack up all and be one another, because as far as spirit is concerned, we are a family. Doesn't matter who we are, what colour we are, what race, what religion, what male, female, it doesn't matter. We're all one family. So why is one family killing another family? It just doesn't make sense to me, to be honest with you. And it's why I find being able to work with spirit, I'm able to see more what is being given and sense what's being given. Sorry, Ben.
That's okay. Can I come back? I just wanted to ask you a question about something you were saying. You were talking about trust, and you were talking about trusting spirit, and that you're getting better at trusting spirit. So what stopped you from trusting them from an early stage?
Me, my mind. It's like learning to drive a car. In the back of your mind, a little voice saying, well, how can I learn this? How can I go through this? Or going through exams, etc. With spirit, I've seen things, I've sensed things, I've heard things. I've seen several things, including a medium who was called Stan Parrish. He used to run Finchley Church. He would walk with two crutches, sort of dragged himself along. He would struggle to get up the platform. He wouldn't let you help him. He would struggle to get up on this platform. He'd put both these crutches down, and then he'd link in with spirit, and he would literally pace up and down on a stage, giving messages and giving love with like a 16-year-old. And yet, soon as he finished and he struggled back down on that platform, he could hardly walk again. He was so shattered, it was unbelievable, but he still kept going. And that was one of the first times I really started to realise that having trust in spirit and having trust in how you feel together with spirit, it gives you that way of going forward with life, understanding life, and believing more about the way of spirit. I hope that answers your question, Ben. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay, because there was another question that occurred to me, was that you were talking about on the trust theme as well, that how you were at circles and various things. So when did you begin to trust what you were finding in a circle? Did you find that difficult, or did you, because a lot of people will say to me in circles, they will say, what's imagination and what's spirit?
Yeah.
It's one of the big questions I'm asked if I'm running training sessions. And so how did you deal with that?
Well, to start with, as you say, being that I'd never actually worked with spirit technically then, before I sat in my first circle, it was starting to understand what I was receiving from spirit in my mind, and was able to corroborate with certain things that happened throughout my life. In the early parts, when I didn't think I was linked with spirit then, and there were only things that I knew. It's not as if I was in a circle where everyone knew everybody, because I was completely new to the whole path of spirit, so I thought. I was then able to understand that I was tested very early part of my spiritual beliefs when my mother died when I was 15 years of age. And I admit I was really wound up with spirit because I just started to believe in the life continuum afterwards, and the way that spirit can interfere sometimes, but not actually in the human side of life. And I said to them, well, how can my mother, who was only 42 years of age, I was only 15, how could she suddenly not be there? And I did say a few choice words, and I don't mind holding my hands up now and saying how sorry I was. But for 3 days after, I heard very little from spirit, as if they would give me time to cool down, time to understand that they can't really interfere with the way life's patterns, because our human mind comes into so much. And after 3 days, they came back and said to me, can we talk to you now? Can you understand what we're saying? We're not condoning what's happened. We can't prevent what's happened. But this is how life is. We can't go a day longer on the earth than we're planned to do. If it's tomorrow I was to go back, so be it. I couldn't extend it longer than that. And it wasn't, my mother didn't come back that early in my life, but I knew she was there. I sensed her love, I sensed her reassurance, and I sensed her upliftment, because she was a very hard-working woman and was working very hard throughout her life. I must say, we're talking 5, 6 siblings to look after. My dad was away most of the time, so my mother was the centre of the family, as they normally are. And it wasn't till a few days after Lady Diana Spencer passed the spirit that I was on the stage introducing this medium. And I felt so, for some reason, so alone at that time, that I felt the arms come round to me from the back, as if someone had put a big heavy coat round me, and I could smell my mother's perfume, and I sensed the amount of love that was coming through then, that I found was so fantastic. I can still feel it now, believe it or not. It's many years from now that it happened, but I can still feel it, the way I felt totally uplifted and able to sort of embrace life more again.
You said as well that you had voices in your head and you knew that they were spirit. So how did you know they were spirit?
I didn't at first. No, I didn't at first. I thought it was my mind playing tricks on me. But when I started to hear words from Spirit that I could not possibly know, or the way life had begun. Because I said to them, if it's true that Spirit, I've only just started working with you. And they said, no, we'll take you back to when I was 5 years, and explained what happened then. And that's how I knew that Spirit was someone that I wanted to be attached to. I wanted to work with. I wanted other people to feel the love and understanding that I was feeling at that time. And even now, when I work on the platform, or even in the Zoom studio, I want people to understand the unconditional love that's coming through from Spirit, to show them that life is continuous. And it's only the body, the vessel that we're in, that goes. My mum is still there. My mum is still in my heart. The love and energy is there from Spirit. I didn't know 2 moons. Excuse me. I didn't know 2 moons. I kept hearing this voice, and I said, well, who are you? And then all of a sudden I saw this big pond. And in the pond, I'm standing by a picture of me standing by a pond. And I'm looking up to the moon, and I'm looking down again, and there's another moon reflecting in the pond. And that's how I knew that 2 moons was coming through. Charlie is unbelievable. When Charlie starts to work, he's a picture and a half, I tell you. He comes with a lot of the East End chatter and natter. And I have to laugh because he comes through as a 12-year-old boy with a pint of beer in his hand, in a tankard, and a cigarette in the other hand. And I said, how can you do that? And he just laughs. He says, no, this life continues, but it can't kill me. He said, I'm already dead. But the funniest part is that I feel such a sense of love from him. 1 minute you look at him as a young boy, and the love coming from a young son to you, and the next thing you're the son looking up to a father, and he's sort of changed roles, and he laughs. He's got such an infectious laugh, it's unbelievable. And when I'm linked with him, time flies. Time just zoomps, as they say. I've got a third guy who's he tends to come through on divine services, and that's Ram Das. He's an Indian, but he's not a Red Indian. He's from India. Very much a guru type man. And when I'm sitting quietly, I don't sit for hours on end meditating. I used to years ago. When I first started, I thought you had to sit there for hour upon hour or whenever you could. But no, I tend to find now that I can meditate, say, between 15 and 30 minutes. And once I come back from that meditation, I feel great. I feel on top of the world. I feel I could take the world on, as they put it. Sorry, I keep on. Once I start talking, I can't stop normally.
That's okay. I was going to ask, obviously behind you, there's quite a big shamanic influence. So is this part of your spirituality, this shamanism?
It's like I'm still coming towards that crossroads, as if I want to go to shamanism. I do read a lot about shamanism and shapeshifters, etc., that sort of thing. But I also feel that at one time I will go into full trance. I often go into semi-trance. but it's only that one step more than to go into full trance. And I don't think I want to go to shamanism. I don't. People say I haven't got time. I haven't, to be honest with you. Even though I had more time when I worked, but now I'm retired. I find I'm under so much work now anyway, spiritual and other, that I don't want to overtax myself into what learning. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So if I was to say to you, what sort of spiritualist are you? Are you like Charlie with a pint of beer and a fag? Or are you, what sort of spiritualist are you? Are you
I
an
am a
SNU
spiritualist
spiritualist
medium.
or a
I am a
Christian?
spiritualist medium at heart. I always will be. I do believe in the philosophies of spirit. I don't believe in everything the SNU features. But even though I was part of the SNU for several years, because I also ran that church in North London for several years as well. So I do believe in a lot of their philosophies and a lot of their guidance, and also a lot of their teachings. But I find it very difficult sometimes when they do silly rules, or rules they think are so very important, but to the conventional person, to the person on the ground, I find it very difficult. And it came to head once when they said that we want all the crosses taken down in the church, in a spiritualist church. I found that very difficult, because even though I believe in my own heart I'm a spiritualist, I was brought up as a Church of England choir, in a Church of England church for many years when I was younger. And I used to go to Sunday school in the afternoons as well. So Sundays was tied up, as they put it. So hi Ben. Who's that?
I'm just waving at
Okay,
Christian Murray. Take no notice. I'm sorry. I just didn't want to interrupt the conversation.
That's all right. It's just that I was brought up in the Church of England. I was in the Sunday school, and I did not have the feeling of love and contentment until I walked into a spiritualist church. It was as if I'd been lost. Suddenly I was found. But what it actually did, it actually snowballed me. It built up that energy inside me, put that spirit inside me. That little bulb had been put in there by simply walking into that church. And I walked out of there in several years later, because I was working on the platform, and Spirit wanted me to do more Spirit on the platform, work at more conventional churches. And I used to find excuses not to. Oh, you need to leave this church now because you need to go on. They kept saying. And in the end, everything came to head, and I did leave. I left. And I found out when I actually left that first church, it was like the baby with the comfort blanket. You know, the comfort blanket was the church, that church I was in. But I found the same feeling in every church that I went into. Or, I'll rephrase that, 90% of the churches, I found that same love and contentment from the people. When you walked in, people made you feel so at home. They made you feel as though you've been lost, you're a friend, and you come back. And you go to churches week upon week, sometimes 3 or 4 churches a week, you would serve as a medium. And each one, for some reason, I was able to do. The job I was doing then enabled me to go out to different churches quite often. And even though I still think of the Church of England churches, I've got nothing against them whatsoever. I've got nothing against any convention, any religion whatsoever. you believe what you believe in. It's what I say to people. I know what I believe in. I've seen what I believe in. I've felt what I believe in. And I believe I'm home. And that's my true feelings.
So, what is home?
Home is when you feel you don't have to prove yourself. You don't have to make big of everything. I serve spirit because I want to serve spirit. I feel the spirit. Even on a day-to-day basis, I feel spirit quite often. Whereas before I had to sit quietly for 10 or 15 minutes before I went on the platform, I know that I can relax, and within seconds I can link into spirit. And I can feel that warmth come through. I don't have to prove myself to them at all because I trust what's coming from them. And the information I've given people, that's brought some people to tears, but not tears of regret, tears of laughter, tears of life, tears of being able to speak to their loved ones again in spirit, knowing that they've only got to think of their loved ones and they're there with them. That's what I believe in. That's how I understand what life is.
Talking about making people cry, I often tell a very funny story. I think, well, to me, it seems very funny. And I knew a group of mediums who used to go out serving churches every week. Then they would meet up on a Monday to meet with their mentor or trainer. And before the circle, they would be sitting round saying, I made 3 cry. And the best one was 6, how she made 6 cry in one evening. Now, I know that you weren't actually saying that. You were saying it from a different point of view. So I was serving spirit one evening in a big hall, and there was a lot of people there. And I told them this story. I always tell a little story for a bit of fun. I said, I'm going to tell you this story about making people cry. And so we'll count up tonight how many are going to cry. And it was a joke. So I went to the First Lady, gave her a message. She started to cry. And so I went 1, and they all laughed. And then this girl, you know, when somebody comes in and you hear clip clop, clip clop, clip clop, clip clop, and then she sits down. And I said, I'm going to come to you because you've just come in, and I've got your mother with me, who passed about 2 years ago, whatever. And I said that she's coming in, she wants to chat to you about a number of things. She said she hated me. My mother hated me. So I looked around and I said, well, I'm going to ask everybody in the audience, do parents hate their children if they have an argument with them? And I went back to her and I was giving her some evidence. And I looked back and said to the people, now, are you going to answer the question? And I suddenly realized almost everybody in the room was crying because each of them had had some experience with a child. And so if I was getting prizes, I would have won. But it's more that the emotions that we affect, we create a vulnerability in people. When I heard you talk about, I can still feel my mother today, I can still feel her love. We all can, can't we?
Yeah.
That vulnerability.
I was trying to explain that the love I felt that time was a special love that I felt that time after not seeing her for so long. And I was able to feel that now as I'm talking to you now. I can feel her energy around now. I can feel her love now. But the tears I get from lots of people are not tears of regrets. They're tears of joy in most cases. When they feel that connection is through. That little memory link that touches because I feel the emotion before they do. If that makes sense to you, because I do.
Yeah.
I put myself in the middle between, say, mother and daughter or whatever. So the emotion comes through me to them. So I'm really sort of feeling their love coming through. And that's how I explain it comes from them. I have lots of times when people say, "Oh, I've got your father there," and they say, "Well, oh, he didn't look after me that well." And I said, "Well, your father's coming through to tell you that he has always loved you, but he didn't show it." They said, "But many years ago, people didn't show their emotion
They
the
didn't know
same."
how to show it. They
Yeah,
very often, and they'd never received. The generation before had never
yeah,
shown them any
yeah.
affection or love.
And when you start talking like that to them, people start to understand that a different kind of love comes through, a different type of understanding when you find the loved ones coming through with so much love and so much energy. And lots of time with so much regrets. I've had ones where the father has or the mother has come through and the person doesn't want to talk to them. And I say, or she understands, or he understands what you're saying, and he wants your forgiveness. I'm not saying you can give your forgiveness now, but in many years from now, if you could feel it totally different, to be able to understand how your father was coming through, how your mother was on the earth, and can then embrace the love or just forgive. Because part of spiritual knowledge is also forgive people what they've done. Understand them, embrace them as it's meant to be with the love of spirit and the love of a close family. My many people I've known where they've had problems throughout their lives, and their loved ones, their mothers, their fathers, their grandfathers, their sisters, their brothers have come through. And in the end, they said, we understand. We understand how you cannot forgive us now. We just want the chance to prove that we did not mean half the words we said. It's like many times when someone's going on the point of going to spirit and they're in so much pain, they say things they don't mean to their nearest and dearest. Even my sister, her husband passed, and the last year of his life, he was in so much pain that he said things he wasn't proud to say. Then a year after he passed, I went to see her because she wanted to see me. And I explained that the love between them will always be there. I said he wants to apologise for the things he said before he passed, because it wasn't him in them respects. It wasn't the real him. It was the little voice inside him trying to blame this person or that person for him going to spirit so early throughout his life. But that way, it actually got her to understand that the love was so very, very strong. And she accepted that. She accepted what he was saying. She then understood that he did love her. And for the first time, for many months, she went to bed and she actually slept for the first time contentedly since he passed to spirit. And that was nearly a year that she had problems. But now she's okay. She sleeps now. She understands it now. And she knows that in time they will meet again.
That's obviously very often what we do, though, isn't it? We settle people and settle them with a loss. whatever, and let them feel the love. At the start of the program, you talked about how things affect you. You were talking about Ukraine,
Yeah,
and Ukraine situation, of course, is affecting us all
yeah.
quite strongly. Um, it, but as empaths, we feel we feel the violence. We
We
feel
feel
the
helpless. That's the
yeah,
hardest part. Is
yeah,
that I saw a story today where the rockets destroyed a children's hospital,
yeah.
and I felt their pain. I felt their bewilderment. There's people there not knowing what's happening. Why is this suddenly happening in this day and age? But it's not the start. The start was in Afghanistan or Somalia or the Yemen or Syria. Why can't people learn to stop killing each other, killing your own people? Because we're all part of one family, we're all connected.
Mhm.
So what satisfaction does it give to you to take someone's life?
And of course, spirit can't affect uh, change on earth because it's our responsibility, how we live, our freedom, free will as to what we do. Um, so this I think has been a big wake up call for the world, hasn't it?
Yes, it has, but it's still going on. Is what I'm saying. That be, being in in contact, being part of spirit, and being having the realization that we are spirit and human, the able to see things happening and feel the pain of people. I can imagine people in the Ukraine in darkness, not knowing what's going to happen.
And no water, and
No,
freezing cold, and
exactly.
no food.
I applaud them in a lot of respects because their belief is as strong as ours. Their belief is what's keeping them going. Their belief that it can soon end is what's holding us all together.
Hmm.
I pray every day. I pray honestly every day that it will finish. And each day I get up, I don't actually watch the news programs anymore. Um, I find that since we become linked to spirit and we work with spirit, that the sense of this happening, it puts me right. If I sit and watching it on TV, is just I find anything to do apart from watching it
Yeah, but
because
spirit
I
must
can't.
feel they must feel the same as us, powerless,
Exactly,
and
exactly.
watch this horrific attack on a weaker country,
Yeah,
and you know, in a way, the world is waking up and actually beginning to come beside that country. But um, there's all sorts of politics in terms of NATO and all the rest of fixing it. Tomorrow night, actually, we have a special evening of healing for Ukraine and its people. And we have 8 of our members are actually contributing to a healing service tomorrow night. So hopefully that'll help us all.
well, last week, um, the church where I am, or there where I live, the St Margaret's Church, they had a healing evening on a Tuesday evening, and it was in a Zoom room, and everyone was invited, no matter who you were, what religion you are, what your belief is, doesn't matter what church you are, all tuned into this program, and I did. I watched it, and there was 117 or 118 people in this Zoom room, sitting there sending absent healing with candles in front of them, and the power that went out that evening. It was only 25, 25 minutes to half an hour, but the love filled the screen, the energy and the prayers that went out, and you multiply that by the amount of countries that are doing the same thing throughout the world in which we live, it must be affecting the love and the energy that's going through.
Yeah.
People in Ukraine and Afghanistan and the Yemen and Syria must have felt that love coming through that night, because I felt the energy was so very, very strong and so very, very understanding. I find, sorry.
You're back with us on Sunday, taking
Yeah.
the divine service at
That's
12
right.
o'clock. And this is your first time taking
Yeah.
the divine service with us. So we're excited always when we have a new medium coming on board. So what will you talk about, do you think, on Sunday, or have you decided yet?
No, I'll decide about that normally about 10 minutes before we start. Because what I'll do is I'll pick a reading for maybe White Eagle,
Yeah.
or whatever. I will get a book out and I'll open a book, and what I will talk about will be connected to that reading.
Okay.
And that's how I work with spirit. I don't plan addresses. I don't plan nothing in that respect. I'll simply walk to the bookcase over there. I'll pick a book up. It could even be Helen Steiner Rice. It could be something to do with her. That's over there as well. But whatever I open the page at, my guide will give me the words I need to say for the address. Because I find that people say, oh, I've been working on this all day to do this. And I think, no, I want the address to come from spirit.
Yeah.
I want their love, their philosophy, their understanding. And I find the best way to do that is to open a book, do a reading, and then let spirit give me the words I need to say to start the belief in life. If I can turn one head or make one person smile when I do my address, I'm 100 up. I'll be well aware. I'll be well happy.
All right. Have you enjoyed the conversation?
Oh, it can't have finished yet because I've only just starting to warm up. Because
it's coming to an end. We generally finish before 9 o'clock. I just want to tell people, if I may, what's on for the rest of the week. On tomorrow night, Thursday night, we have a healing service and for Ukraine. And for the people that are going to be on camera, I'd like you to take, if you have a candle in your home, if you would actually bring it along, because we were intending to take that tomorrow. So we'll be on at 8 o'clock, and there will be really prayers and readings and some healing, distance healing being sent out as well. And we will do this on a regular basis during the Ukraine crisis. Now, on Saturday evening at 7:30, we have the amazing Deb Clark from Weston-super-Mare. Deb, who comes on and just starts, and I've got this, got that, this name, that name, etc. And there's always great fun. So she's on for about an hour to an hour and a half on Saturday evening. And then on Sunday, we have the amazing Derek Spall, a very experienced speaker and medium. We'll be coming to you at about 11:45 on Sunday, and we'll be on air from 12 noon, Derek. So I'm looking forward to the service. I want to thank you for this evening, and thank you for the clear way in which you explained your thinking. It's a gentle, honest spiritualism, filled with compassion and love. And that was my experience this evening.
I think you can't disguise the feeling of spirit. you can't dismiss that love that comes. Each one of us has got our loved ones with us nearly 24/7. It's just that most of us find it very difficult to see or to sense them. But I know my guides walk with me quite a lot, and they talk to me quite often. And they're even there quite often to hold the hanky, because I'll get very emotional sometimes. Because I do believe that the love of spirit is, I trust them so implicitly. And
when you work with them, the honesty and truth is so pure that there's very little you can do
that's
other
right.
than just go with it. Eva Buresson, who's from Sweden, she's thank you both for a great evening and see
That's
you.
Eva. Lovely to see you, Eva. Lovely to see you.
And she's coming back to see you on Sunday.
That'd be good. That'd be nice.
Yeah. So thank you, Derek. And it's been a lovely evening. Thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome.
I'll just ask you, I'm going to take you off screen, but I'll ask you to stay where you are
Yeah,
for a
of
few
course.
minutes while we finish.
Yeah.
Well, what a lovely man Derek is, and what a lovely, gentle spirituality that he has, full of compassion and love. So we look forward to the service on Sunday at 12 noon. Tomorrow evening we have the evening for Afghanistan, and then on Saturday evening we've got Deb Clark in an evening of intimate mediumship. So that was this evening's program. Thank you for watching. Good night and God bless.